Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
Don't assume that you won't be impacted by President Biden's proposed tax increases because you're not wealthy enough. We've been sounding the alarm that higher taxes are probably coming. Most people don't realize we are in a low tax rate environment, but they aren't going to remain on sale forever. And even at their current rates, they can still swipe away at your savings, leaving you with just a fraction of the money that you are counting on for retirement. So on the Statler Financial Radio Show today, we want to help you understand who could be impacted by proposed tax increases and give you some ideas for how you can keep more of your hard-earned money in your own pocket. It is a big topic today as we sit down with Philip Statler, President and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Boy, Philip, going to get into taxes, but I hope you're doing great this week.
I am. Here's the deal, Jen. In your kind of the heading of what today's going to look like, one of the things that I find is that's a big, misnomer that people have that, hey, you know what, I make under this amount of money, so whatever Biden does isn't going to affect me because I don't make that much money. And we're going to find out today that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, absolutely. The Biden administration, we'll talk about some of those different places where you could be impacted. The Biden administration has proposed an increase in the capital gains tax to take it up to 43.4%. Now, they're saying it's for people earning over $1 million. Nothing's been approved yet, but this could potentially impact a lot of people.
It really could, Jen, and it's crazy. And there's a lot of examples out there of how this could affect different people. But I want to talk about one this morning from the Wall Street Journal. They had an article of how this proposed could really impact a specific landlord that they talked to. And he had saved and he had bought an apartment complex. It's like 20 something years ago. And he paid himself. So, he paid himself like $75,000 a year. He wasn't getting rich, folks. He was just making a living, right? Owning this apartment building. But here's the deal. We find out under the Biden proposal, if he sells that, because that's what he wanted to do, right? Sell it when he gets ready to retire.
Right. That's his retirement plan. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be his retirement. Here's the deal. The Biden tax hike would treat him as if he's been a millionaire forever. He's going to get zapped with a huge increase in capital gains taxes in that one little year that he happens to make a big deal on the sale of his property that he's owned for 27 years. He's going to get hit hard. And so this gentleman's name is Paul Settle. He's 64 years old. He lives in Kentucky. And that was his retirement plan, right? He was going to sell this apartment complex, pay it off, and then live off of those proceeds in retirement. And so here's what that looks like for him. He's had an offer of like $2.3 million for this apartment complex. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but he's got a mortgage he's got to pay back. So under the current rates where we are today, he would pay just under $500,000 in federal taxes on that sale.
Which is still a lot.
Yeah, which is huge, right? That's a lot of money. But that would leave him with like $800,000 after he paid off his mortgage. And then, not only do we have to pay federal, but he lives in Kentucky. Kentucky has a state income tax. So he's got to pay that income tax too. So he would end up with about $800,000. Now let's just switch gears here and let's look at what that could look like to him in terms of under the Biden plan or their proposal. And he would owe an additional, Jen, get this, $390,000 more in taxes. So he would owe almost $900,000 in taxes, leaving him with a mere $400,000.
Wow. That cuts his retirement in half, what he was planning on having saved to go into retirement.
Exactly. And you think about it, there's people I run across that have a lot more of that in their 401ks. And so the first example, under current situation, if he had 800,000, well, I don't see many people in our area that have more than $800,000 in their 401k. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but that would be somebody that's done very well, probably lived in the Northeast or out West before retiring here. But so that's a big deal, right? As we look at that impact of those taxes on his retirement.
So what's the lesson here for people who are trying to secure their financial future? Because again, like you were saying with this example in the Wall Street Journal from this landlord in Kentucky who's never been a millionaire, but he's essentially a millionaire for a year when he sells his apartment complex, and then he's going to be zapped by these tax increases. What's the lesson here for other people trying to secure their financial future?
Well, and let's remember this. He's only a millionaire on paper, right? Because
right.
He's not going to get $1 million in the bank anywhere along the way.
Right.
So let's remember that first. Secondly, is that I think the biggest thing is that people really and truly believe that they don't have to worry about taxes because they don't make that much money. And the issue is you do have to worry about taxes. Taxes are a vital part of planning when it comes to planning for your retirement. I don't know that I can express that strong enough, Jim, that it can eat away at what you've saved well before you realize it's really happened. And so I think that makes it more important to understand the tax implications. Number two, make sure you have a proper income plan in place that allows for taking money from different buckets of money, right, going forward, so that you can limit the tax impact on what that's going to look like. Folks, listen, if you don't have a retirement income plan, you don't have a written retirement income plan, then you really haven't planned for your retirement. Give us a call. Let us help walk you through that process of developing a retirement income plan that will get you through retirement. And that starts with our financial X-ray. Give us a call right now at 863-285-3815. Again, that number is 863-285-3815. Give us a call today and let's get started on your retirement plan.
That number again, 863-285-3815. When it comes to taxes, you do need to understand that your retirement savings could take a potential hit. Just like we were talking about with this example with the gentleman who planned to sell his apartment complex to fund his retirement. The money that we have in our retirement savings, this could be vulnerable to taxes as well. What are some things to keep in mind, Philip, when it comes to how taxes could impact our retirement accounts down the road?
Well, I think the one thing is let's just remember that taxes are important, and poor decisions, fast decisions without really working through the process can be really problematic and can really, shrink your savings a lot faster than anybody really realizes. So let's keep that in mind. Now, realize that you're not as rich as you think you are when you look at your 401k. And I say that because a good chunk of your assets that are in those IRAs and 401ks, eventually you got to pay tax on that money. It's not just all yours. I like Ed Slott always says, look, there's a mortgage on your IRA and your 401k. And the problem is you don't know what the balance is until you start taking money out. Now, how would you like to buy a house and not know what your mortgage is, right? Doesn't make much sense, does it? But it just gives the idea that planning becomes even more important when we're looking at those retirement assets. Planning withdrawals, while you have some time, it makes some sense, right? I see a lot of people that don't really use their tax brackets efficiently. And so they accumulate, they don't take any money to their IRA, and all of a sudden they reach that magic age of 72 now, that they have to start taking their required minimum distribution, their RMD. That number ends up being bigger than they thought it was going to be. Now it causes a lot of their Social Security to become taxable. So it escalates their tax bracket and the amount of tax they owe significantly faster than any of them anticipated. So that's where planning ahead and starting to draw down those retirement assets, those IRAs, prior to reaching that required minimum distribution age becomes important. And so I think that one thing that I try to do for our clients is really and truly think in terms of tax bucket strategies. If we have money in an IRA or 401k, then we know we're going to have to owe taxes on that. So we want to have money in other buckets too that we may not owe taxes on. An area that we look at a lot is, for somebody that's married, they stay in that low 12% tax bracket right now until they hit $81,000 of taxable income. And so what we'll do is if people retire and they're well below that, we want to go ahead and start taking some money out of their IRAs now. Let's pay a little tax now at 12%, and let's move it from the taxable bucket over here to the already paid tax bucket so that we can control where we're taking money from on an ongoing basis. The next bracket after 12 is 22%, and then 24%. The next thing you know, you could be in a 32% tax bracket if you take all your money out at one time. And so we don't want that to happen to folks. We plan hard to make sure we're taking money from the right buckets and that we're not wasting tax brackets by not taking any money out of our IRAs.
Right. And we have been sounding the alarm that higher taxes are probably coming. So many people don't realize we're in a low tax rate environment right now, but those taxes are not going to remain on sale forever. Even at their current rates, they can still swipe away at your savings, leaving you with a fraction of the money that you were counting on for your retirement.
You're absolutely right, Jed. And so folks, please don't assume that you won't be impacted by President Biden's proposed tax increases because you're not, quote, wealthy enough. I bet just about everyone listening has a few areas where they can become a little more tax efficient with their retirement money. That's why for listeners of today's show, I want to help you understand the potential impact taxes can have on your retirement savings. I want to help you learn about ways to reduce or possibly even eliminate taxes on retirement, and then create an income strategy so that your retirement income lasts as long as you need it to last in retirement. Folks, we primarily work with families who have saved between $250,000 and $1 million. But if you've saved at least $150,000 for retirement, give us a call right now at 863-285-3815, and we can help you go over your retirement accounts and uncover what your possible tax liabilities are in the future. And we'll talk about some of the strategies that can help you reduce your taxes down the road. It could mean tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket to spend the way you want to spend it in retirement. Folks, there's no cost and there's no obligation, but this is only for listeners of today's show. Call us right now at 863-285-3815. Again, that number is 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler, Phillip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services in Sebring, and Phillip knows very well that it's a lot easier to get a job done if you have the right tools. And we want to help you understand that the financial tools you need for retirement are a little different from what you used during your working years. We want to talk about that and help you pack your retirement toolkit. And Phillip, I mean, you know what I'm talking about here, right? When you're trying to get something done around the house, for example, and you don't have the right tools to finish the project. I mean, it's a mess. Has this ever happened to you?
So I'm going to talk about two things right here.
Okay.
One is a simple one, right? My truck.
Yes.
Not the house, but truck. I wanted to put change the front plate on my truck, right? It had a FSU tag there. I wanted to take it off, put my new one on. And I went down there and I thought it was an Allen wrench, a simple Allen wrench. I went and got my Allen wrenches. None of them would fit. And I looked at it and says, well, it don't even look like an Allen wrench. And so I went to the store and I got something else that looked like that's what it was. Came back, tried that. It was the wrong tool again. So I ended up taking it to the dealership just to get my license plate changed because I couldn't figure out what tool I needed to fix the goddamn thing. So it's that's one of those things. The other one that really sits in the back of my head, and I try not to remember this one too much, is I decided to remodel my bathroom by myself.
Oh, how'd that go?
I know you and I don't know each other very, very well, but I'm not a handy person at all. I made a lot of trips to the hardware store to get stuff that I didn't have and needed for that project. So, and it's frustrating, right? When you get in those situations.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you think about some of these situations you've been in, if you had a hammer, there are some things that you could technically get done, maybe not well, than if you needed a wrench and maybe try to just knock the thing off with a hammer. It could have gotten the job done, but maybe a little bit messier. So I think that kind of brings in our point
Jim,
here.
The other thing that just hit me is that the biggest frustration is not knowing what tool I needed.
Yeah.
Especially trying to change the daggum license plate, right? I didn't know what tool I needed.
Right.
And so I had to take it to the dealership to get a simple license plate changed.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is so frustrating when you just can't figure out what it is that you need. And I think that is a perfect segue into talking about these financial tools, trying to figure out exactly what the financial tools that we need, what those things are. And if you do a search for retirement tools, I did this, you get millions of search results. So there is a lot to search through. I mean, Phillip, you think about your frustration trying to find the right wrench. Now there's millions of hits and you're trying to sort through this. One of them that I found that I thought was kind of interesting was from the Department of Labor. It was a federal government. It called a retirement toolkit, this PDF that you could download. And I looked through it and it had some resources about Social Security. It had some articles about Medicare. And then it had a couple things about the basics of retirement savings plans. So that was in the federal government's little retirement toolkit: Social Security, Medicare, and retirement savings plans. What would you say might be missing from that list? What else would you say needs to be in our retirement toolkit?
You know, I looked at that list and there's a lot of missing stuff in that list. I mean, I think the timeline that they put in that article is good. I mean, when you should start doing certain things. Okay. Outside of that, it doesn't give you really and truly any strategies or investment tools that you can use. I think the biggest thing is what tools do I need? And I'll just tell you that, you know, if you go to certain people, you're going to get their tools that are available to them, and they don't have any access to any other tools. Okay. You know, like when you go to Ford, you know, you're going to get Ford dealership. You know, they're going to use Ford parts. They're going to do all that stuff. It's going to be specific to them. And so where if you went to a regular mechanic outside of the dealership, they're going to pick and choose whatever is going to work the best and maybe save you some money too, right, on the parts they buy. Right. And it's the same thing in the financial world. You know, not everybody has access to all the same tools out there. Being an independent advisor, we do. We have access to all the tools to put together the retirement plan that's going to be there and it's going to be needed. And so I think that's the key. And part of that whole key is risk. How much risk do you have in your portfolio? What tools are you using to mitigate some of that risk? And if you don't know, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
That's why we developed the financial X-ray. Part of that financial X-ray is to help you determine, number one, what is the amount of risk that's appropriate for you? Number two, how much risk do you have in your current portfolio? If you don't know the answers to those two questions on a scale of 1 to 100, you need to give us a call. It's that simple. The number to call is 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815. Give us a call and let us help you find out how much risk you have in your portfolio and make sure that it's the right amount of risk for you personally. And that's what we do at Statler Financial. 863-285-3815.
I'm talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services in Sebring, talking about our retirement toolkit, because it is frustrating when you think about that idea of trying to accomplish something and not having the right tools. This is frustrating when we think about a car repair project or a home improvement project. It's also really frustrating to think about when it comes to our financial goals. And I think that's part of it as well, Philip. Sometimes we don't understand that certain tools are going to be used in certain ways, right? So if we are looking for growth and we have an annuity, we might be very frustrated and saying, well, this is not a good tool, but we're not using it the right way. So how do we get some help matching up the right tools for the goals, for the job that we're trying to accomplish?
And Jen, that's a good point, because I have to remind clients of that all the time, is that, they're disappointed in the earnings of an annuity, or they're disappointed because of the ups and downs of the marketplace. And so we have to remind that, hey, everything that we do has a specific job and a specific task in place. That's one reason that we run through that risk analysis, right? Because we want to know what tools we should be selecting from. And that risk analysis really gives us that different options of what tools would work best in your circumstances. And so whether we need a lot of income, whether we need more safety because, you don't want a lot of risk in your portfolio, all these things will help determine what tools we are going to use, whether that's an annuity, whether that's a real estate investment trust, whether that's just mutual funds and stocks. We don't know until we sit down and put together a plan. Anybody that just puts you in an investment without having a plan in place, that is problematic from the beginning. Jim.
Right. So let's say, Philip, that our goal is generating income. That's the job that we are trying to get done with our money. What are some of the tools that we might use for that?
So there's a vast array, right? So there's CDs, right, and other safe investments. Now there's problems with that, right? Because they don't pay anything. We're not going to really generate much income.
Right.
We're going to use our principal. You can use a laddered bond portfolio using the interest from the bonds and just put them on a short-term laddering schedule, 3 to 5 years. You're going to ladder them out. You could look at a stock dividend portfolio, a portfolio that has specifically put together to generate dividends, and those dividends get paid out to folks. High yield bonds, high yield corporate debt, systematic withdrawals from a balanced portfolio. Now I see that one a lot. And I will tell you that it can cause people some headaches because of the ups and downs in the market while they're taking money out of that portfolio.
Okay.
Not the best strategy that I've seen. There's an immediate annuity. You put money in, you're going to get a lifetime income. Variable annuities with some kind of guaranteed income feature will create that income that you may need. And then a holistic retirement asset allocation plan, which lends itself to putting together a portfolio that's very well diversified. And so you know where the money's coming from each and every month. And then for us, we like the bucket approach, right? It's kind of like the holistic retirement asset allocation plan, but we use money in buckets or silos, and that's worked well for our clients.
Okay, so those are some ideas for income. Let's talk about if our goal is growth. That now we're looking at some different tools. What are some of the things that we might think about there?
So here we look at things like stocks, right? Stock market, having a diversified portfolio of growth stocks, using a mutual fund that you have somebody that's doing those allocations for you, using an ETF. Using a real estate investment trust will give you maybe some growth. It's more towards income, but it is a possibility to give us kind of an in-between growth and income, as well as an indexed annuity will give you kind of both, right? It'll give you some expectations for growth, but could also be used for the income side. And with any type of tool that you use, they all have different things. Stock market, you have the risk of ups and downs. Annuities, you have surrender charges and liquidation requirements. You can only take out so much a year. So there's different things with each of these tools that we need to understand and know that we're using those tools because of what they'll do and how they'll do it.
Right. And that's, again, your process for helping us put those tools into place in the right way. It's called the Financial X-Ray Report. And you do things like help us find the right balance between growth and safety, putting the right money in growth versus income. That's what your whole process is all about.
That's right. So the whole thing about creating that financial X-ray is to make you aware of where you currently stand in relationship to your portfolio and how much risk it has. The second part of that is, how can we take that portfolio and minimize the risk so that it's appropriate for you? And there's several ways that we do that. And it all depends on what that number looks like for you. To find out what your number is, between 1 and 100, give us a call, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. And let's get started with your financial X-ray. 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services here in Sebring. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year, talking with me today about packing our retirement toolkit. There are so many financial tools out there. It seems like there should be a solution for just about every problem. But here's one of the issues that we have. First of all, Philip, and we talked about this earlier, if you only have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Here's the other thing. Sometimes we have an emotional reaction to certain tools or products. We reject them based on what we've heard or what we assume. And we don't do this with physical tools, Philip. Nobody says, oh, I don't like screwdrivers, so I'm never going to use one in anything ever. But we do this with money. Talk about that and why that's a dangerous line of thinking.
Well, you're right. They do. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with folks and we run the risk analysis and they need more safety. And we start talking about annuities and indexed annuities, and all of a sudden you see the whites of their eyes light up. And it's like, oh, no, we can't do that.
Right.
Why can't you? Do you know, have you used them before? Oh, no, but my brother-in-law told me, it's terrible, we should never use those. Well, it's a tool, and if used properly in the right circumstances, will do you justice in your portfolio. I get the flip side of that, right? I sit down with folks, and usually that person I say the annuity word to, they've got everything in stocks and mutual funds.
Yikes.
Now take the next person, we run their risk analysis number, and they have all their money sitting in CDs. And they need more risk. We need to look at, for you, a very conservative tactical portfolio. Oh, no, we're not going to go in the stock market. So, because all they've seen, all they've heard is bad things, right? They don't look at, they do hear about the guy on the golf course that said he made 100%, but he stretched, it was like a fishing story, right? So, but that's the problem, is people look at those tools, and those tools used properly will give you the results that you need. And I have to look, you're hiring a professional, right? If you went to a contractor and said, look, I need you to build my house, but I'm against you beating nails with a hammer. You can't use a hammer.
Doesn't make sense.
How are they going to build your house?
Right.
They can't. You got to look at all the tools and what they're designed to do. And as long as you're using them for what they're designed to do, that's what you should use them for.
Right. And you know what? I like that word that you used a few moments ago when you said we need to get tactical here. That's an important part of this. We don't want to be just randomly picking and choosing where we're going to put our money, going through and just clicking on different places online and saying, okay, I'll try some here, and some here. We need to be tactical with this. That's what helps us make sure our money's going to last. I just want to clue in on that word for just a second, because I think that's an important word that you used.
Well, that's true. And so I've learned a long time ago, because I've lived through 2 major bear markets, right?
Yeah.
And what I learned in those bear markets is that, hey, having that pretty pie chart asset allocation, it didn't work. It didn't work in 2000 or 2008. If you were in that pie chart in a conservative portfolio, you still lost money.
Yeah.
And so that taught me that you need a well-devised tactical portfolio that does look at the economic situation. It looks at how high the stock market is getting. It looks at all these other factors to build this portfolio. And it's different than just buy and hold.
Right.
Just being tactical means, hey, there may be times that we make wholesale changes in that portfolio. And there may be times that we don't make any changes. There may be times that we take risk off the table, so we don't have as much risk in that portfolio. Versus buy and hold, you don't make any changes. Maybe once a year you come in and do a little bit of change here or there. It's just a different mindset. And over the years, my experience has taught me that tactical has worked better over time.
Right. Another financial tool that's out there is life insurance. And this is one of those things, I have a young family. I have 4 kids. We still have a mortgage. So obviously life insurance is a part of my financial plan, what my husband and I have. We have life insurance for the kids. How could that potentially fit into a retirement toolkit, though?
Well, that's a good point. So most people think they get to retirement, they don't need life insurance anymore. And some people stay away from permanent life insurance because they only want it for a certain period of time. And I understand all those different theories and different philosophies around life insurance. But there's 2 areas that I think life insurance, if started early enough, now that it could make some sense. One is that a permanent life insurance policy started young enough and funded on a well-balanced plan could create income in retirement.
Okay.
If planned properly and done right, it could being the primary word there, produce some income in retirement. The other important aspect of it is that most life insurance policies today will have a couple different riders associated with it. They'll have a long-term care rider sometimes, but most of them have a terminal illness rider. And the terminal illness rider says, "Babe, look, if a doctor says I'm going to die sometime in the next 12 months, then you can have access to some of that death benefit."
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that becomes important. And for those that have a long-term care rider, then that life insurance policy could double as a partial, not a full, long-term care benefit for you. And every policy is different. You need to understand exactly what you have to see what benefits are available for you down the road. But that is a possibility. It could be there for that issue if you have the right type of permanent policy.
What about things like long-term care? You know, that is we have some different tools and solutions to deal with that. We used to have these traditional standalone long-term care policies, but you were just talking to some of the options potentially with long-term care. So a lot of the tools that we have today are different for today's retirees. You need to keep that in mind if you're getting some advice from your father-in-law or your aunt or your neighbor, right? The tools that we have today might be different from what they were using.
That's right. If you have a policy, if you have a policy that you had 20, 25 years ago, it may not have any of this stuff in it. So it may make sense to say, okay, what's out there today? Can I take what I have and put it into something new? Maybe not, but it may be worth that discussion, Jen, to find out if that would put you in a better place financially going forward.
So, Philip, let's talk about how you help somebody find the right combination of tools for a comprehensive strategy, how you help them figure out what needs to be in income, what needs to be in growth. What are the concerns that we need to address as it relates to things like long-term care and healthcare? How do you help somebody build that comprehensive strategy that's going to handle all these different aspects?
So that's a good question, Jen, and it boils down to a couple different things. One is the financial X-ray, where we determine, based on that, how much risk you can tolerate within your portfolio. Second, we're going to look at what we call the rule of 100. And that is going to say, hey, we're going to take 100 minus your age, and that's going to give us some idea of how much you should have risk in your portfolio. Is it exact science? No. That number gets tweaked plus or minus depending on your current circumstances. But that's the second way we look at risk. And the third thing we do is we build a financial income plan, a retirement income plan that is written down for you. And that retirement income plan, like I said in the past, we use a bucket approach. So we're going to use a bucket, and certain buckets are going to last certain amounts of time. And over time, it's going to grow and still provide you the income you're going to need. And so based on that plan that we put together, then we look and see what tool do we need for each of those buckets. And that could be drastically different for you than it is for my grandmother. It's going to be different. So it's not one size fits all. It's going to depend upon the person, how much income they need, how much risk they can tolerate as to which tools we're going to use. But we're going to walk through a process to get to the answer to that question. Give us a call and let us help you to put into that plan. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Hey, I'd love to sit down with you and coach you into and through retirement. That number one more time is 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial X-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. to barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you could leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and he gets questions from people all the time as it relates to retirement. We wanted to find out some of those commonly asked retirement questions, so we went out and found out what people want to know about retirement, some of the questions that they have right now. We've got a bunch of different voices that we're going to hear from here on the show today. And Philip, our first question comes from Brent. I'll just let him ask the question.
I'm thinking about taking money out of my IRA to pay off some debt. I know that's not always the greatest idea. I think we can do okay without a penalty because Congress has passed some new laws after the pandemic. But how can we make sure we don't make a bad situation even worse?
That's a good question. And let's just kind of clarify a couple things here, Jen, that Brent, that was the case. And I say was because it's past tense, right? So you could do that until and through December 31st, but it did not carry over. I haven't seen any extensions of that into 2021. Now, it doesn't mean that they couldn't come back and pass the legislation to extend that provision, but it's not there now. So if you had done that, you needed to do that before the end of 2020 to not have to pay that 10% early withdrawal penalty. But even more important than that, Brent, is you need to weigh the pros and cons of that, right? And that's one of the things that we did help some of our clients last year weigh those options. Does it make sense to take money out of this account for whatever they needed to do? Mm-hmm. Because by taking money out of your IRA or your 401k, now you're taking away from your retirement. And sometimes it's better to maybe suffer now and be able to have the retirement you want down the road. And like I said, it's one of those things that we weigh out. And it's one of the reasons that we're so connected with other groups to stay educated. And that's one of the things I remember, like, I think it was like December 20th, sometime around in there, I got an email from Ed Slott saying, hey, deadline's approaching. If you have clients that want to take money out of 401k, they need to do it now. And so that keeps us up and abreast on what's happening because we get those updates whenever something critical is coming down the line.
Yeah, just another one of those things that shows you how much these things keep changing and how tough it is for the everyday person to stay on top of all this stuff. I mean, the everyday person, Philip, who's out there working or even in retirement, we're not getting those emails from Ed Slott reminding us of those things going on. That's why it helps to work with somebody like you who's able to stay up to date on all that stuff.
Absolutely. Those are the things. And we try to send out, emails addressing those things when they change or a video email explaining what those changes are. We try to keep our clients informed on what's happening.
Let's go to another one. We have a question here from Gary. This is our Man on the Street segment. We went out to find out some of the questions that people have about retirement. Here is what Gary wants to know.
I've been working for the same company now for about 40 years, and I'm hoping to retire in the next year or two. My original plan was to wait until I retire, take my 401k and do something with it then. But I'm wondering, should I be doing something with it now?
That's a great question. And Yeah, I'm gonna say it depends, right? There's no yes or no answer until you dig a little deeper. And here's what needs to be kind of dug into is, you know, within your current 401k, what are your options? What options do you have? And will those options meet your current needs getting ready to retire in a couple years? My experience has been that normally that's not the case, and that there's other tools that may help you more or better as you get that close to retirement. The other thing that you have to find out is, can you actually take the money out before you retire? Not all 401ks allow you to take money out prior to retirement. There's age restrictions, and a lot of them you have to actually be retired before you take money out. But some of them do allow it. Some of them will allow it at 55. Some of them will allow it at 60. So that's the first thing is two things you have to look at. One is, what are your options, and will they meet your needs? And two, are you allowed to, based on the document 401k?
All right. Great question, Gary. And thank you, Philip, for taking a couple minutes to answer that. If you would like to get on the phone with Philip, and again, here on the show, we do a lot of general type answers to talk through some specifics and learn a little bit more about some of the decisions that might make sense for you, some of the options that might make sense for you in the future. 863-285-3815 is the way you can reach Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services. That is 863-285-3815. Let's go to our next question here. This is our Man on the Street segment, or I should say people on the street, women on the street as well, because our next question comes from Robin, and here's what she would like to know.
How often should I be speaking with my financial advisor? I only reach out when I have questions, but that really doesn't happen very often.
That's an interesting question, Robin. So it really depends on what do you want. I mean, a lot of times we'll ask our clients, how often do you want to hear from us, because we don't want to overburden them. But I think that it needs to be enough. So like with our clients, usually we'll sit down with our clients at least once a year, if not twice a year, and they'll hear from us directly. We'll pick up the phone and proactively touch base with them at a minimum 4 times a year. And in some cases, even more often than that. So depending upon, how much risk is in the portfolio, what the ups and downs could look like for them. But definitely, if you're not getting some proactive communication out to you, well, you need to either have a conversation with your financial advisor, or you need to find somebody that will meet your communication style and needs.
All right. Great point there about how it needs to be a little bit customized as far as how frequently that you're going to hear from your advisor or from your financial planner. But I think one of the points there, Philip, as well, is this isn't a thing where you set it and forget it. Somebody comes up with a plan for you and says, okay, good luck. See you in 30 years. I mean, that's just not a prudent way to approach this either, right?
Definitely not, Jen. I mean, that's one of the things that, I look at my job, my position is to be my client's retirement coach. And here, that even goes a little further than just financial advisor, right? So a lot of guys that will take care of your money, that's what they do. They take care of your money, but that's it. They don't take care of you, the person. They're not there as your coach to bounce ideas off of or to run scenarios through. That's what we're here for. I tell my clients, look, I want to be your 411. If you need to know something, let me know. I'll figure it out for you. Or 2, I want to be your 911. You have an emergency pop up. It may not be a money emergency. It may be, hey, I need to get from here to New York. How am I going to do that with all the stuff going on right now? There's just, we want to be a resource for our clients, not just the guy that takes care of the money. There's a lot of people that can do that. But there's not a lot of guys that will take care of the individual. And that's what we feel like we're good at is taking care of the money and the person. We want to be your coach to make you a better person and that you have a better retirement going forward.
Yeah, great point there. Let's do one more. We have time for one more question here at our Man on the Street segment, going out, finding out some of those commonly asked retirement questions. Last one today comes from Harry, and I'll just let him ask the question.
I'm 67 years old. I just retired and I'm feeling good. I've got money in my 401k, money in some other investment accounts. I think I'm covered, but what should I be thinking about?
Harry, that's a good question. As I listen to your question, one of the things that hit me right in the forehead was, I think I'm covered. Now here's the thing. I would rather you say, I'm certain I have my income taken care of, but I didn't hear that. And so that's what I think that needs to happen, is that there's a lot of things that can cause uncertainty. And just because you got a 401k and you have some other investment accounts, how are you going to take money out? What's the process going to be? What's it going to look like? Unfortunately, most people retire without an income plan. They have something in their head, or their brokers told them, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, but they don't have a written retirement income plan. And that is what we do here at Statler Financial. We want to make sure that as we put together that income plan, that every year where your money is going to come from, and if you need a little extra, where it's going to come from. Not that, hey, we've got all these products out here, we have all these accounts out there, we're going to get you your money, and you have no idea where it's coming from. That's not good planning. That's not the way you want to retire. You want to have a true retirement income plan. And so I would encourage you to take some time and get one put together. It's I would say it's simple. It's simple on my client's part. They just give me the information and we put it together. And then we hash it out to make sure it's going to really and truly meet their need. So listen, if you don't have an income plan, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you tell me, hey, I've got a financial plan. It's about 2 inches thick over here. That's not a retirement income plan. So what got you to retirement won't get you through retirement. You need to have a retirement income plan. Give us a call. Let us help you set one up, walk through, and keep coaching you through it throughout your retirement years. To do that, it's simple, folks. Just give us a call at 863-285-3815. It's 863-285-3815. Give us a call now. Get on our schedule. Let's sit down and let's get you on track for the retirement you always dreamed of. That number one more time, 863-285-3815.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Make sure you remember that number we've shared throughout the show today, 863-285-3815. And be sure to tune in again next time for more insights from Philip. I'm Jen Rezac. Thanks for spending some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial X-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.